Jane, thank you so much for giving us your time and attention today and your expertise. I'm so excited to have this conversation. You've done some pretty incredible things in your life and held a lot of titles. So, we're talking about becoming and who we are when maybe we change titles or we change jobs or we change roles and all the identity shifting and the mindset shifting that comes with that. So, can you tell us a little bit about how did you go from being this Emmy winning journalist to deciding to become a coach and help other people strategize how to make career shifts?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me with you today because I think what you're doing is really bringing great information to your listeners, and I hope that I can add a little bit of that today. So I'm going to try. Thanks. So you asked me, how did I make the decision or make the transition? So just by way of background, I worked for NBC in New York at 30 Rock. I'm sure a lot of people know that address,
Mhm.
for close to 30 years. And I was an anchor, a newscaster, had a show of my own, was a reporter, traveled the world for the network, covered Olympics, and went to Mongolia on a dinosaur dig, and I did all kinds of really cool things. But one of the things about being involved in the broadcast world like that is you have absolute deadlines. If you're not there when the show goes on the air or when they turn the camera on, that's it. You're done. And always some kind of a event, a tragedy or something would always happen on like the Friday night before I was leaving on vacation.
Mm.
And so those absolute deadlines always having to be on, so to speak. Not that we're not always on, and the fact that my then 12-year-old daughter was staying up later than I was because for a long time I got up at 3:20 in the morning. All those things made me realize: is it a good idea to have a tween with the mother sound asleep in New York City in the evenings? Anyway, so there were
Mm.
a bunch of different reasons that went into it, and so I had an aha moment, and I don't mean to ramble here, but I had an aha moment one day in the studio when I was interviewing, and I don't even remember who it was, but I was doing an interview, and it was a gentleman, and he said something that really intrigued me. So I basically threw out the questions that he was prepared to answer and that I was prepared to ask, and went down an entire different road. And he
Mm.
followed me all the way. And then we finished the interview, and he said, I didn't get to say what I wanted to say. And I said, well, whose fault is that? And then I realized that I had a very unique ability to get people to tell their stories and to help them tell their stories well, be it in the media, in a presentation, on a stage, in a meeting, whatever it was. I knew how to get to the core of that. And I thought, this is something that I can really use, and maybe I should create a business out of it. And that's what I
Mm.
did. So,
I love this that you were doing something highly successful uh, at the top of your game and you allowed yourself to question it and
mhm.
ask yourself if it was the right thing at the right time. Because I think a lot of people, especially I think women, we get into something that we have put a lot of time and energy building our career, our expertise, and all of a sudden something doesn't fit anymore, whether it's change in our life circumstance or maybe even boredom. Maybe you get bored
Yeah,
doing the thing that you're really really good at, but you stay there because it's really hard for you to imagine your identity without who everyone expects you to be.
right. That's so true. It's really, and I think I I believe my key message that I want people to take away from here today is your brand, your identity is not the job or the title you have. It
Mm.
is you. And I counsel my clients consistently to make sure that they're keeping their own brand in play, because you never know what's going to happen in this world. I see people losing their jobs left and right. And I also see a lot of, again, the subject of women, and a lot of women who either are going back to the workplace or they've decided to leave it because they have been in one role for so long, and all of a sudden they think, hey, maybe I want to change this up.
Yeah.
Um, and and then they get lost because they're not, it's not like me calling, hi, Jane Hanson from NBC calling, and immediately people answer me back. That was the hardest thing for me to get used to,
Mm.
was I was so used to immediate gratification. And
Mm.
because everybody took that seriously. But instead, it was just me calling, and they were no longer quite so Johnny on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also you were doing something that you knew you could do. You knew you had a gift and a talent to do it, but there was no guarantee of success. Where, when you are an anchor, you're getting a paycheck. You're getting
Mm-hmm.
you know what time you have to be there. You know how to do your job. You know how to roll with the punches. You know what success is going to be looking like, and you also have at the end of the day a paycheck. But when you're
Correct.
going out on your own, there's no guarantee of success, right? There's
Oh, no.
there's it's very unknown, even if you're trusting in, this is what you're being called to do. So
Right.
how do you help your clients who are making that transition? What are some of the things that you encourage them that you learned when you did it?
Well, first of all, you really need to take stock of yourself. You
Mm.
need to, I like to do several different exercises with them. Exercises that they have to do. I just tell them how I think they should do it. The first is to really make two lists. One is, what do I really like doing? What would be my dream ability? And what have I proven over and over and over that I'm good at? And the other
Mm.
side of it is where you will not compromise. I refuse to get up at 3:20 in the morning anymore.
Mm.
I will not, I don't I don't want to travel for work, or I want to see the world, whatever it is. So there's what you won't do and what you really want to do, and make those two
Mhm.
lists. And then, so that's going to help you kind of define whatever role it is. You may have already said, I really want to try whatever, but you have to make that list so that you know that the pros and cons of that particular role might not fit for you.
Mm.
So first you do that. Then the second thing is, our perception of ourselves and the outside world's perception of us are two very separate things. Its studies show that there's a 30% difference in how we see ourselves and how the rest of the world does. So I suggest you pick 5 people. Maybe it's your spouse or your partner. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, that is my phone.
I'm just going to make a note to edit it minute 8, no problem.
I don't know why that's happening, because I thought I shut this all off.
Okay, go ahead and restart. You were talking about things that you won't do, like your list of non-negotiables, which I love this.
Yeah. So you've got your list of non-negotiables. Then this idea of perception, how we perceive ourselves versus how the world perceives us. So studies show that there's about a 30% difference in how we think we are and how they see us. So I say go to 5 people, and it could be a partner, a spouse, a peer, a sibling, your parents, even your, if you have adult children, um, just people who you trust, that
Yeah.
they're going to be truthful. And you say, I want you to give me a phrase or some adjectives that describe me best. Give me a quality that you think is my best quality. And their answers are going to surprise you.
Mm.
Because while you'll think, oh, they really like me because I listen well. But instead, they're going to say, we love you because you are always organized and you never don't show up.
Mm.
And that's two completely different things.
Right.
So now you have to say to yourself, well, that's how the world sees me. Why don't I see myself like that?
Yeah.
And how does that all fit together? So then you kind of throw that into the whole list thing that I already described. Um, and then the other thing is to really think about your value, because what happens, women don't value themselves as much as men do. I mean, I just did an
Yeah.
article. I write for Forbes at times, and I wrote an article about how women It was based upon a new study and about job parity, pay
Uh-huh.
parity between men
Yeah.
and women. It says we're not going to have equal parity until the year 2088. And I'm not
Yeah.
sure about you, but I know I won't be alive then.
Yeah. Right. Right. Exactly.
But what it also said is that in the whole job application process, men are far more likely to apply for a job when they have only 60% of the criteria. Whereas
Yeah.
women, if they don't have 95%, they're not going to go for it.
Right.
So that's because we have kind of have some things inside of us that make us value ourselves less. So
Yeah.
how do we get our value back? How do we think about not back, but how do we understand our own value?
Yeah.
And that takes some work. It takes some psychological work. It takes some reading, some listening to whomever you might believe gives good, good compassionate kind of advice, that sort of thing. Maybe they want to listen to you. You know what I mean? It's
Well,
like,
no, it's one of the things that I always tell women too, who are, because I would say 90% of the women I coach and the women that come to my conferences and retreats struggle with exactly what you just described, is that if you have been breathing toxic fumes that have
mhm,
been undervaluing you, you aren't going to believe that about yourself. And it's not until you get out of that environment or surround yourself with people that do believe that about you and who can see it, will you start subscribing to the value that you currently bring. Women stay in jobs, they work for bosses, they stay in relationships that are completely toxic and that are undervaluing who they are. And then they go, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I'm like,
right.
right. Well, you're breathing toxic fumes, and when you can't work and live and do life around toxicity and not have it affect you, it's going to poison you. So the more you surround yourself with people who do see your value, you start to see it in yourself. So it's a very powerful thing. Community, we cannot underestimate community coaching, peer support, and the people you let in your life, and where you choose to work. I know a lot of women who are like, well, I can't leave my job because I have this role, or because I make this money, or because I have this. And I'm not saying that you should just walk away from a job without a plan, but sometimes you should walk away. You need to
Right.
get out of a relationship or job or whatever it is. Sometimes you can't stay there and expect yourself to thrive.
That is so, so true. Um, so this whole notion of how to value yourself, it's not easy when you start your
Mhm.
own business, as you well know. And there will be moments when people will say no, or maybe they won't even respond, or you'll do something and they'll say that's not what I had in mind, or no, I don't like that, or you get rejected. And
Yeah.
when you get rejected, that can, if you're not feeling your own value, that can be really
Oh
harmful.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And getting over that can take some real work. And trust me, I've been there. I've done that. So it's important that we, you know, obviously I'm into making lists because I I want you to write down, it's almost like a journey. I did this 29-day journey. Why 29? Because that's what a therapist told me to do. So 29-day journey, and every single day I wrote down one thing about myself that I'd done that day that made me very valuable to me or to others.
Ooh, that's so good. That is
Yeah.
really great. How were you different at the end of those 29 days?
I look every time I started to doubt myself, I just looked at what I'd written down and went, "Wow.
Yeah, that's
Okay."
really cool. That is amazing. So I want to go back to something you said that I think is so important. When you talked about your list of non-negotiables, like what are the things I'm not going to do?
Mhm.
And I think about when I was first starting out in this business, and I was creating my own business, and here I had been a physician for several years and had a lot of success being a doctor. And then I'm going to start this company where I'm going to coach women and help women and really put on a conference for women. That's kind of how I started, and I built this community. And one of my mentors said, you have no street credibility in this. You don't have a degree in women's studies. You don't really know what it's like to be a woman working in this. I mean, you don't know what women need. And I just listened to him because he was my boss, right? I just kind of took that as, like, oh, well,
Gospel.
he knows more than I do. He's more successful than me. So I was so driven to prove myself right, like to prove him wrong and prove that I could do this, that I did not do that. I did not put up non-negotiables. And I came out and tried to be the best business person. And I said yes to everything. And I said yes to every collaboration. And I just worked 16 hours. I mean, I would work all day and then I'd come home and I'd work on my business, and every weekend, every night. And I really kind of, I should have done what you suggested that your clients do. I should have said, I'm going to be successful in this without compromising these things, without compromising my health, without compromising, the people I want to collaborate with and the people that maybe I don't want to collaborate with, and gotten really clear on my non-negotiables. I think that can be applied to you as a person, like personally, but also in business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so smart. And I want to just say, I didn't do that. And I resulted in 1 year. I will never forget the year. I made a ton of money. I made more money than I had ever thought I could ever possibly make in this business. And at the end of that year, I told my husband, I will never do that again. I was miserable. I hadn't taken a day off. I worked Christmas Eve, around the clock. I was so exhausted. I had gained like 10 pounds that year because I was stopped exercising every day. I was eating out. I was so unhealthy but I had proven to myself, so to speak, that I could make this money, right? And I have not made that much money in a year since that time on purpose, because
Wow.
I now have a set of non-negotiables, right? I take a day off a week. I take vacations where I don't work. I only travel for speaking engagements once a month. I only set a certain amount of clients that I'll coach. I don't coach in the evening. I have no coaching in the evening hours because it's best for my well-being. I'm not telling other people to do this. I'm just saying, I wish that I had you when I was starting out 10 years ago to coach me and tell me to do that, because I didn't do that. And you may say, like, other people, if they looked at my earnings, they would be like, wow, what did you do that year? Whatever you did that year, you should do again. No, actually, I should never do that again, because I had no joy. I had no health. It cost me relationships. It was terrible. So I just want to be honest with the listener and say, like, if you're following some coach that tells you can work an hour a week and make millions of dollars a year, they're
nuts.
They're nuts. And you have to set boundaries for yourself.
Right. You do. But some of what I'm talking about, I had to learn the hard way, because there might be people who would come along that would be, I mean, I had the privilege of being a recognized entity because of my time on NBC. So that gave me a lot of people were willing to talk to me or give me a chance or become a client and that sort of thing. But some of them were not people I should have been doing any kind of collaboration with. And so I learned some of that the hard way by making a couple of choices, and in some cases lost money. In other cases, I went, what? When I finally discovered who these people really were, they were toxic. So it's not like I didn't make any mistakes. This all comes from me saying, this is what I learned. And it's really important that you do the best you can in setting those boundaries. They evolve as you go along, too, because you learn from experience.
Yes. And what you need in this season of your life, when you're going through a transition or you're going through a change or you're changing your identity, whether it's a career identity, any identity, whether you're shifting who you show up around, who you decide to be around. Maybe it's the people that you're around that you're shifting. Maybe there's a new version of you that you need to change the friends that you have or the people that you're around the most. When you're doing that, give yourself the grace to have the boundaries you need for that season.
Yes.
Like I have 4 kids and 2 are in college, 2 are in high school. When they were little, like when everybody was at home and everybody was in school, I hated cooking. Like if you asked me what's for dinner, I would just spiral into a place of like chaos and I would get so angry and I hated cooking. I hated being in the kitchen. I hated cooking. If I could have somebody cook for me every night, because I would have these like 20 minutes between work and soccer practice or dance practice or whatever we were doing. And it was so stressful to try to figure out what these people were going to eat for dinner every night. And I would get angry about it. Now I have one person who doesn't drive. Like, and my husband normally drives him at night, or he's going with friends to getting a ride to this or that. I love cooking. Cooking now. I love to turn on music, pour myself a glass of wine, start cutting up vegetables, figure out what wonderful meal I'm going to cook because I'm in a different phase of my life. If you would have
Right.
told me 10 years ago that you're going to love cooking dinner for your family sometime, I would be like, no, I'm never going to love cooking dinner. I hate cooking dinner more than anything on the planet. Now I find joy in it. I don't do it every night, but I do it many nights and I like doing it, Jane. So we have to give ourselves permission to set the boundaries, do the tasks that we can. When we're a different identity, we have different titles as we move through life and phases and seasons of life, and it's okay. You don't always have to be
Hmm.
the same thing. You don't always have to like the same thing.
Right. Right. And the other thing that happens when you do make this kind of a big change or a transition is you yourself change a lot. And
Mm,
not only with the boundaries, but all of a sudden you see you meet new people, you you experience, there's a new experience, there's all kinds of things that happen. And so you too are changing. And I have a different set of friends than I had, you know,
mm,
10 years ago, 15 years ago. I've moved. I've, I just, when I think about it now, I realize that for, for a long time, I was searching for something that I didn't have because I worked all the time, like you were talking about. I worked all the time when I was at NBC because it's a big job and people are watching you and people notice you and they see what you're doing and they talk to you when you're in a restaurant and all kinds of things. So that was also something I wanted to pull back from because there was very little privacy. And then all of a sudden having all that privacy was scary.
yeah. Yes. Yes. I know. It is. It's crazy. I mean, I certainly don't have the recognition and people don't and the reputation that you have, but I ran a very large Facebook group for years, thousands of women doctors. And I decided to close that group. And in the next morning, I went from waking up every day with thousands of notifications and messages to 5. And I was like, wow, who am I when I'm not that person running this community and recognized everywhere in the medical world? And like, who am I and it was such a good year of discovery for myself. I
Hmm.
realized a lot about myself. I realized a lot about who my true friends were, who I wanted
Oh
to
yeah.
remain as my friend, and who was only in it because I was this person that could do something for them. It
Right.
was really
Exactly.
interesting, really interesting. Yeah.
Yep. But that happens. And that I think that's something you should expect.
I think
But
so too. And I love that you just said that because I think a lot of women think if their friends change, they've failed.
no, no, it's probably just that they've grown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And um and it's actually it's really fun. And the other part that I like to say is don't be afraid of opening the door because there are many doors that will open in totally unexpected ways. You'll meet
Mm,
somebody at a some at a community group. You'll talk to somebody new at a lunch. You'll have a phone call with somebody. Something you'll see something online. You go, wow, I really like with social media or maybe on LinkedIn or something like that. And you'll say, I really like what they're saying. And you reach out to them, and all of a sudden you've got a new acquaintance or even a new friend
yeah.
because of the way the relationship grows. So it's a period of tremendous change in so many ways. But I think the other problem is that we're afraid of it.
Yes.
And it holds us back because we think, oh, it's not the right time. Oh, until once my kid gets out of high school, I'll do it. Or once I've saved enough, or once I really figure out what
Yeah.
the next job is going to be. Well, maybe you just have to plunge and
Yes.
just go for it.
Yes. Oh, I am definitely, I love that you said that. I feel like you're speaking directly to me because I just took a major plunge. And I opened up a new business. I opened up a physical space, a women's club, a private women's club in Omaha, Nebraska, in my community. And I've always wanted to do it. I've wanted to do it for years and years, but I said all the things you just said. Oh, I'll do it when I am 60. I'll do it when I'm get ready to retire. I'll do it when I have this much in my bank account. I'll do it when my kids are all gone. And then in the last 2 years, I had two big events, life events happen to me that woke me up. I lost a family member very young, and I also lost my house in a tornado. And yeah, when that happens to you, you kind of just, all of a sudden I went, why am I waiting? Why am I
Yeah.
putting on hold where I really want to put my time and energy? Like we all only have limited time and energy on this earth.
Hmm.
And why am I waiting for 10 years to do which today? Oh, and I had a million reasons why I'm waiting. Like, I don't know how to do it. I don't have the money to do it. I don't have the time to do it. I don't have it all figured out yet, and what if I fail? All these things. And then I just really thought, what I thought of this. This is what I read somewhere. I don't even remember where I read it. I read somewhere, someone said, think of yourself in 10 years and then look back and think, say to yourself, what would you regret in 10 years if you didn't do? And
Hmm.
I asked myself this question for about a solid year. And every time the answer was the same. It was open up this women's club, open up this women's club. You will regret it in 10 years if you haven't done it. What are you going to regret if you lay on your deathbed that you didn't try? You didn't like put out there. And it was that. And I thought, what am I waiting for? So I have just plunged. I am
Good for
I'm
you.
swimming in the deep end. I don't have it all figured out, but we just opened April 1st and it's going great so far.
Wow.
But
2 weeks. Almost. Yeah. two
yeah,
weeks.
but it's scary.
Wow.
It's scary, Jane. It's so scary. I mean, it's terrifying, quite honest.
I understand that, but I think being scared sometimes is good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
by the way, I grew up in Minnesota, in rural Minnesota, and I remember tornado warnings and taking my favorite dolls down to the basement so they'd be okay. So,
You
I
totally get it.
I
Yep.
get it.
You get it. I mean, I've done the same thing since I was a child and never thought it would ever impact me. You just go to the basement. You just hang there for a little bit and then you go back upstairs. So, yeah, it was a very it was a life altering event, but now that we're through it, I can tell you I'm so glad I went through that because man, it was a season of purging. Physically, literally, and emotionally, spiritually, all those things. I purged people. I purged 90% of my possessions. I purged some roles and titles and all the things and just got rid of a lot of things in my life that I didn't need to take with me anymore.
Oh
So,
man, and that purging part feels good, which could also lead to another notion about all of this is think about purging what you don't need in your life. And I'm not talking about the material stuff. I'm talking about maybe the misguided isn't the right word, but it's the some of the mindset that you've maybe outgrown or
mm,
the mindset because I've been doing a lot of that recently as well for some reason I don't know why but I picked up a book it said this messy life and it's just really I just found it someplace and it asks you questions and then you journal about it and it's it's like really makes you think of wow that is messy why am I thinking that way why am I not
yeah,
and so we have so much that's in us that comes maybe even from our childhood or from earlier relationships or other experiences or certain jobs that we just seem to hold on to beliefs that really don't serve us any longer because they're not how we are today. So we got
yeah,
to purge those too.
yes, yes, we do. And we're supposed to. I would
Mhm.
say, you know, I shouldn't have 32 coffee cups. I don't need 32 coffee cups. I drink out of two, the same two all the time. They're my favorite ones. I realized, like, why did I have all that? I don't need that.
Hmm.
And then I realized, you know what? I'm not supposed to
No.
have that, and that we're supposed to purge. This is part of life. Well, I could talk to you forever. I wish I was sitting in Florida with you and we staring at your beautiful background. And I wish that we were having coffee and I could do this all day because I love this conversation. It was such a great conversation. You're obviously you're really good at this. This is what you do for a living.
Well, so do you. So there we are. You just
um,
come at it from a different, different, yeah, with a different background. That's all.
Well, tell our listeners, how can they find out more about you? How can they follow you? How can they learn about your coaching and your offerings?
I have a website that's called janehanson.com, and it's Hanson. And so they can find out things there. And I also, my email is really easy. It's jane@janehanson.com. And so I'm easy to find. I'm on Instagram at Jane Hanson Official, on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me in all of those places. And I regularly post things about ideas for how to communicate better. I mean, that's what I really coach, is
Yeah.
how to be a great communicator. But communication is at the heart and soul of everything we do. If we can't
Yeah.
communicate, we really can't live.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so you can. I'm easy to find.
I love
So
it. I love it. And thank you so much for being so honest and encouraging about your own journey and telling us, how you made this shift in identity, how you help your clients do the same, and really the importance of making those lists. I mean, those were such great tips that she gave us. Everyone that's listening, you can do this in 5 to 10 minutes today and
mhm.
probably discover a lot about yourself and
Yep,
where you're going, where the next thing is for you by just doing these exercises. So thank you for giving us your time.
you are very welcome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Any